My mother demanded we all get PhDs or die trying until she earned a PhD in prison time. After my dad left us for his yoga instructor when I was 13, my mother became obsessed with creating disciplined children who honor their commitments. She started by checking our homework and monitoring our grades, but within a year, she installed cameras in our rooms and turned our home into a surveillance state where every moment was monitored and every mistake was punished. The surveillance grew more extreme with each passing month. When I dozed off during a 10-hour study marathon dying of exhaustion, she poured ice water on my head and said, "You can't rest for another 2 hours, now keep studying." When my friend called during homework time, my mother said, "Studying comes first," took the phone and threw it out the window. When I cried about missing my old life during dinner, she forced me to eat alone in the garage for a month while listening to recorded lectures on repeat. When my brother forgot to log his study hours, she withdrew him from his basketball team right before scouts were coming, and he lost his sports scholarship that would have paid for college. She even found my early admission acceptance to Stanford during one of her backpack raids and forced me to write a withdrawal letter while she watched, saying, "You haven't earned the right to leave yet." The night everything exploded started when my younger brother Jake made the fatal mistake of choosing friendship over studying. He snuck out to his friend's birthday party instead of completing his evening calculus session. When he crept back through the door at 10, my mother stood waiting with her aluminum baseball bat gripped in both hands. She flicked on the lights, and Jake froze like a deer caught in headlights. "You promised to study calculus tonight," she said in a voice dripping with rage. "Mom, it was my best friend's birthday." Jake started, but she was already moving. "Breaking commitments is how weakness starts. Men who can't keep their word become men who abandon their families." She screamed and swung the bat into his ribs with a sickening crack. Jake dropped to his knees gasping while she stood over him shaking. She raised the bat again and brought it down on his shoulder as he tried to crawl away. The sound of my 15-year-old brother's collarbone snapping finally killed the last piece of me that hoped she'd change. I helped Jake to my car and drove him to urgent care in complete silence while he held his ribs and struggled to breathe. In the ER, the attending physician was examining Jake's injuries with growing alarm. She was a trauma specialist who spent her career documenting abuse cases and testifying in court, and she took one look at Jake's x-rays and picked up her phone like she was calling in reinforcements. I told her everything about my mother's academic excellence program and the surveillance and the years of documented abuse. She held my hand and told me, "No child leaves here to go back to that." She explained the process to me. "CPS will arrive within the hour with police backup. They'll remove you both immediately while she's still home thinking you're at the hospital." I didn't sleep at all in the hospital waiting room because I kept seeing Jake's broken body on our kitchen floor and hearing my mother screaming about broken commitments. The next day, my mother was at home conducting her weekly grade review when the CPS arrived at our house with 4 police officers. The doctor's report had triggered their highest emergency protocol. My mother actually tried to explain her system to them, saying, "Building successful children requires," but the lead investigator cut her off by showing photos of Jake's injuries on her tablet. The images showed 3 broken ribs, a fractured collarbone, and bruising that looked like purple paint spreading across his torso. They asked her if she was responsible for those wounds, and she proudly said, "Yes, I did that so Jake would grow up to be a better man. Surely you understand, right?" That was it. They told her to put her hands behind her back. She actually looked confused as they cuffed her, like she couldn't comprehend why they weren't praising her methods. The lead officer shook his head and said, "Lady, you're going away for a long time." They led her out past neighbors who had gathered on their lawns to watch. Jake and I were placed with our aunt immediately. At the trial 6 months later, my mother represented herself and spent 2 hours explaining her perfect academic excellence system to a horrified jury. She brought charts and graphs showing our grade improvements as if that justified breaking her son's bones. She got 10 years for aggravated child abuse and lost all parental rights. Jake and I are both in therapy now, learning that love doesn't require perfection and that rest isn't weakness.